I know what you did, I said, holding the printed email in my shaking hands. I know everything. My sister's face turned pale. Her husband stood beside her, silent but wide-eyed, as I dropped the stack of papers on the table between us. She picked up one of the pages with trembling fingers. Her mouth opened like she wanted to deny it, but the evidence was right there in black and white. I trusted you, I said, my voice barely a whisper. And you were planning to take everything from me behind my back? There was a long silence. Then, her husband smirked. That stupid, smug smirk that made my blood boil. We didn't think you'd find out, he said. But since you did, what exactly do you think you're going to do now? I stared at them, my heart pounding, feeling like the walls were closing in. But what they didn't know was, I had already started my plan. And it was going to be so much worse than anything they could have imagined. Let me take you back to how it all started. I was never the type to hold grudges. If someone did me wrong, I always tried to forgive. Life's too short to live angry, right? That's what my mom always told me. Kindness comes back to you, Jess, she used to say. Just keep doing good, and the good will find you. And for a while, it did. My name's Jessica. I'm 29 and I live in Ohio. My life wasn't perfect, but it was mine. I owned a small bakery I built from scratch after years of working 3 jobs and saving every dollar I could. It wasn't fancy, but people loved it. I loved it. It smelled like fresh cinnamon rolls and vanilla every morning. It felt like home. My sister, Amanda, and I were close growing up. We shared clothes, secrets, and dreams. But after our parents died in a car crash when I was 19 and she was 21, something between us shifted. Amanda got married fast, too fast, if you ask me, to a guy named Brad. Brad was slick. One of those men who always had a joke, a wink, and a reason why nothing was ever his fault. I never liked him, but I tried to be supportive. After all, Amanda was my only sister. My only family left. Even when they started having money problems, bad credit, late bills, Amanda calling me in tears, I helped. I gave them money. Let them crash at my apartment when they lost their home. Brad borrowed my car more than once and returned it with an empty tank and a lame excuse. But I never stopped helping. Because that's what family does, right? Looking back now, I see all the signs. The little comments Brad made when he thought I wasn't listening. Amanda's half-truths and sudden disappearances. But back then, I just thought they were going through a rough patch. I didn't know they were planning to take everything from me. It all started with a favor. One day Amanda showed up at the bakery with coffee and that nervous smile she wore when she wanted something. Jess, can I talk to you for a second? I was busy icing cupcakes, but I nodded. Sure, what's up? She leaned on the counter. Brad's got this business idea. He's been working on it for months and just needs a little help getting it off the ground. I stopped what I was doing. Amanda, I know, she interrupted quickly. I know you've helped us a lot. But this time, it's different. It's actually a good idea. It's about selling custom furniture online. Brad's been building stuff in the garage. He even made a website. I raised an eyebrow. Okay, but what do you need from me? She hesitated, then pulled out a folder. We want to register the business, but our credit's still a mess. So we were thinking maybe you could put it in your name. Just until we get on our feet. I stared at her. Amanda. That's a big ask. It's just temporary, she said quickly. And you'd technically own 51% of it. We're not asking for money. Just your name. That part should have been a red flag. But I thought, she's my sister. She wouldn't screw me over. So after a few days of thinking, and Amanda calling me nonstop, I said yes. Biggest mistake of my life. Weeks went by. Then months. I barely heard anything about the business. Amanda stopped answering my calls. Brad acted like nothing had happened whenever I saw him. I started to feel uneasy, but I had my bakery to worry about. I was preparing for a huge order from a local wedding venue that could take my business to the next level. Then came the phone call that changed everything. It was from a lawyer. Miss Jessica Collins? Yes, this is she. You've been listed as the majority owner in a recent lawsuit involving a company called Artisan Built Designs LLC. Does that sound familiar? I almost dropped the phone. Wait, what? I'm being sued. The lawyer went on to explain that my company had taken over $40,000 in pre-orders for custom furniture and failed to deliver a single item. The customers were angry. They'd filed a lawsuit. And since I was listed as the primary owner and responsible party, they were coming after me. I was frozen. Shocked. Sick. I called Amanda over and over. No answer. I drove to her house. No one there. That night, I stayed up Googling everything I could. That's when I found the website. Artisan Built Designs. It looked professional. Polished. A full online store, complete with a contact form and Meet Our Founders page. And there they were, Amanda and Brad, smiling like they hadn't just set me up for disaster. I felt like I couldn't breathe. The next morning, I walked into the bakery on autopilot. My employee, Lucas, could tell something was wrong. "Jess? You okay?" "No," I said, sitting down. "I think I just got scammed, by my own sister." I told him everything. Lucas had always been good with computers, and when I showed him the site, he started digging. That's when we found the emails. Amanda and Brad had used my name to apply for a business loan. In one of the emails Brad had sent to a supplier, he literally wrote, "Jessica's name is just on the paperwork. She doesn't know anything. We'll take the heat if anything goes south." I felt numb. They had planned this from the beginning. And the worst part? If the lawsuit went through, I could lose my bakery, my home, everything I had worked for. Lucas looked at me, fire in his eyes. "You can't let them get away with this." I didn't plan on it. That night, I stayed late at the bakery, just sitting there with a cup of cold coffee and my laptop, staring at the emails. Reading them over and over again. I remembered my mom's voice in my head, about kindness. About doing the right thing. And I realized something important. Kindness doesn't mean being stupid. It doesn't mean letting people walk all over you. Sometimes, the kindest thing you can do, for yourself, is to stand up and fight back. So I started my plan. And it began with one simple step. I called Amanda and told her we needed to talk. I told her I knew about the emails. And when she arrived with Brad the next day, acting nervous but smug, I handed them a stack of papers and watched the color drain from their faces. "I know what you did," I said, voice calm but steady. "And you're going to fix it." Amanda's lips trembled. "Jess, But before she could finish, Brad leaned back in his chair and said the words that made my blood run cold. "We didn't think you'd find out. But since you did, what exactly do you think you're going to do now?" I smiled slowly. Because they had no idea what was coming. I didn't answer Brad right away. I just stared at him, letting that smug smile of his stretch a little too long. That's when I saw it, just a flicker, the tiniest twitch in his eye. Doubt. Good. Let it sink in. Amanda was already scanning the stack of papers I had printed. The emails. The screenshots. The LLC documents they forged my signature on. It was all there, neatly organized in a binder I had labeled Evidence, Artisan-Built Designs Fraud, just for the dramatic effect. "I think you both should leave," I said, calm and collected. "Right now." Amanda's voice was shaky. "Jess, can we just talk for a second? Please?" "Outside," I said, standing up. "Because if you stay here one more minute, I might forget who I am and slam a cupcake tray over your head." Brad scoffed and stood. "You're bluffing. You're not going to the police. You wouldn't do that to family." I leaned in just a little, close enough for him to see the storm building in my eyes. "That's the difference between us, Brad. I am family. You're just a parasite." He hesitated, then grabbed Amanda's arm. "We're leaving. Good riddance." As soon as the door shut behind them, I sank into the nearest chair and covered my face. The rush of adrenaline faded, and in its place was a deep ache. I didn't want this. I didn't want any of this. I didn't want to be betrayed. I didn't want to be angry. I didn't want to be the kind of person who had to destroy her own sister. But they gave me no choice. Lucas peeked out from the kitchen. "Did it go okay?" I looked at him, still shaking a little. "I think I just declared war." He nodded solemnly. "Then let's win it." The next day, I took all the evidence and filed a police report. Then I visited the lawyer who had called me. Turned out the lawsuit hadn't gone through yet, they were still gathering information. That was my chance. "My sister and her husband used my name without my consent," I explained to the lawyer. "I have proof. I want to counter this before they drag me down with them." The lawyer, a sharp, no-nonsense woman named Rachel, looked through the binder and raised her eyebrows. "This is impressive." "Thanks," I said, still trying to breathe steadily. "I stayed up all night." She looked me in the eye. "We can definitely work with this. But you'll need to go all in. This won't be pretty." I nodded. "I don't need pretty. I need justice." Rachel smiled slightly. "Then let's burn them." Meanwhile, Amanda started calling. Over. And over. And over. I ignored the first dozen calls. But on the 13th, I picked up. "Jess, thank God. Please, listen. I didn't know Brad was doing all of that. I thought it was real. I thought we were building something. I didn't say anything." She continued. "He told me we'd pay people back. He told me you'd never find out. I was stupid. I was desperate." "Desperate doesn't mean evil," I said flatly. "You made a choice. Over and over again." "I'm sorry," she whispered. "Can we just fix this? Together? And for one stupid second, I almost broke. I almost said yes. But then I remembered that email. The one where she signed off with "Jess won't be a problem. She never is." And I hardened. "I'm not your problem, Amanda," I said. "I'm your consequence." Click. That week, things got worse. Or better, depending on how you look at it. I gave Rachel the green light to begin the legal process of removing my name from the company, citing fraud. At the same time, Lucas helped me contact a few of the scammed customers from the lawsuit. I told them what was really going on. Some were angry. Others sympathetic. But all of them agreed to send statements supporting me. The more pressure we applied, the more Amanda and Brad squirmed. I heard from a mutual friend that Brad's credit cards were frozen and their car had been repossessed. I should have felt bad. I didn't. But here's where it took a wild turn. Late one night, Lucas and I were closing up the bakery. It was storming outside. Thunder rolling in the distance. He was wiping down counters while I counted the cash drawer. That's when the power went out. Everything went dark. "Whoa," Lucas said. "That's not normal." I grabbed my phone and turned on the flashlight. "Check the breaker?" He nodded and went to the back. I stood by the register, listening to the rain hammering on the windows. Then I heard something. A soft creak. From the front door. I turned the light toward it. There, standing in the rain, was Brad. Soaked, furious, and holding something. My blood ran cold. He pushed the door open and stepped inside. "Where is it?" he growled. I stood frozen. "Where's what?" "The binder. The emails. The stuff you think you're gonna use to ruin us." I swallowed hard. "It's already with the lawyer. You're too late." He looked around like a madman. "You think you're smart? You think you can outplay me?" "I already did," I whispered. He took a step closer. That's when Lucas appeared from the back holding a flashlight and a mop. "Step away from her." Brad glared at him. "This doesn't concern you." Lucas didn't blink. "You're trespassing. And I'm calling the cops." Brad looked like he was about to explode. His hands clenched into fists. Then, suddenly, he lunged. Lucas swung the mop. Crack. Brad stumbled back, dazed. Fell into a display of cookies and hit the floor hard. I scrambled to grab my phone and dialed 911. But as I watched Brad lying there, groaning in a puddle of shattered glass and cookie crumbs, one horrifying thought raced through my mind. If Brad was willing to break in here, what else was he willing to do? We had no idea how far he was going to go. And the next thing he did? It nearly destroyed everything. The cops arrived in less than 10 minutes. Brad was still on the floor when they walked in, holding his head and groaning like he was the victim. One officer knelt beside him while the other asked me questions. I told them what happened, how he broke in, how he threatened me, how Lucas stopped him before it got worse. They took my statement. Took Lucas's. Took Brad too, in cuffs, muttering curses under his breath as they led him out into the rain. For a moment, I thought that was it. That maybe this nightmare was finally coming to an end. But it wasn't. Brad made bail within 24 hours. And that's when things really started unraveling. It began with a call from Rachel, my lawyer. "Jessica, we have a problem." I sat down at my kitchen table, heart already racing. "What now?" She sighed. "Brad and Amanda are countersuing. They're claiming you forged their signatures. That you tricked them into putting the business in your name so you could take control and cut them out." I felt my blood turn to ice. "That's a lie." "I know," she said. "But lies don't have to be true to cause damage. Especially when people are desperate." I clenched my fist. "What do? We keep going. We double down. But you need to prepare yourself. They're not backing down. And now that there's criminal charges involved from the break-in, things are about to get ugly." She wasn't kidding. The next week was hell. The bakery, my one safe place, became a battleground. Word started spreading that I was involved in some shady lawsuit. Customers started canceling orders. A food blogger who once praised my cupcakes wrote a post saying she no longer supports unethical businesses. Someone spray-painted "thief" on my front window one morning. Lucas and I had to scrub it off before opening. The worst part? Amanda was silent. No calls. No texts. Like she'd vanished into the shadows while her husband did all the dirty work. I started to wonder if I had been too kind. Too trusting. If the girl who believed in forgiveness and family had been just plain naive. But then, something unexpected happened. A woman walked into the bakery just before closing one evening. She looked nervous, holding her purse tight to her chest. "Are you Jessica Collins?" she asked. I nodded. "Yes." She looked around, then leaned in. "My name is Carla. I was one of the people who bought from Artisan Built Designs. I never got my table." I braced myself. "I'm so sorry." She held up a hand. No. I'm not here to yell. I got your message. Your assistant, Lucas, right? He emailed me. He explained everything. And I believe you. I blinked, stunned. You do? She nodded. I work in finance. I looked up the company filings. I saw the inconsistencies. I knew something was off. And after that email, well, I just wanted to come and say thank you. For trying to make it right. For the first time in weeks, I felt like I could breathe. Carla ordered a dozen muffins and left with a smile. I went into the back and found Lucas organizing supplies. You reached out to Carla? I asked. He shrugged, blushing slightly. I figured, if even one person knew the truth, it'd help. It did. More than he knew. So we leaned into that. Over the next few days, we reached out to more scammed customers. Shared the truth. Offered gift cards to the bakery, or just heartfelt apologies. Some ignored us. Others lashed out. But a few listened. A few believed. We were turning the tide. Until Amanda showed up. She came in on a Tuesday afternoon, just as the lunch crowd was thinning. I saw her through the front window, hair pulled back, dark sunglasses, oversized hoodie. She looked small. She stepped inside, slowly. Like she wasn't sure if she was allowed to. Jess, she said, barely above a whisper. I crossed my arms. What do you want? She took off her glasses. Her eyes were red. I didn't know he was going to break into your shop. I swear. I wasn't part of that. I said nothing. She bit her lip, then reached into her purse and pulled out a flash drive. She held it out to me. These are the real records. Emails. Files. Everything Brad's been hiding. Including a fake contract he forged with your name on it. I didn't move. Why are you giving me this? I asked. She looked away. Because I messed up. I let him manipulate me. Again. And now I'm scared, Jess. He's not who I thought he was. I slowly reached out and took the flash drive. Why now? I asked. Why not weeks ago? She hesitated. Because last night, Brad said something. Something that made me realize how far he's willing to go. My chest tightened. What did he say? Amanda looked up, and for the first time, I saw real fear in her eyes. He said if the lawsuit doesn't stop you, he will. The air turned cold. What does that mean? I whispered. She shook her head. I don't know. But I didn't want to wait to find out. I stared at the flash drive, feeling like it weighed 100 pounds. Amanda backed toward the door. I'm sorry. I know I don't deserve your help. But I had to give you that. Before it's too late. And with that, she left. I stood there for a full minute, frozen. Then I ran into the back, grabbed my laptop, and plugged in the flash drive. Lucas came in a minute later. Everything okay? I didn't answer right away. I was staring at the folder that had popped up. It was labeled Brad, Do Not Share. I clicked it open. Inside were dozens of files. Emails. PDFs, scanned documents. One caught my eye immediately. Plan B, if Jess won't cooperate. I clicked it. It was a list. Bullet points. And the first few hit me like a punch in the chest. Ruin her business reputation. Plant fake financial records. Use burner account to post fake reviews. Leverage lawsuit to bankrupt her. Final step, threaten her if needed. I felt the blood drain from my face. Lucas leaned over my shoulder and read the list. Jess, this guy's a psycho. Yeah, I whispered. And this isn't just business anymore. He's trying to destroy me. I forwarded the entire folder to Rachel immediately. She called me 10 minutes later. This is gold, she said. It's proof of intent. This could shut down their case completely. But even as she said it, I couldn't shake the feeling crawling up my spine. Because if Brad was willing to lie, steal, and break in, what would he do now that I had his secrets? The answer came just 2 nights later. It was 2:14 a.m. when my phone buzzed. Unknown number. One new text. You should have kept your mouth shut. Attached was a photo. My bakery. Taken from across the street. At night. My hands started shaking. Brad wasn't just trying to ruin me anymore. Now, he was watching me. I didn't sleep the rest of that night. I sat on the floor of my bedroom, phone in one hand, pepper spray in the other, the curtains pulled tight. Every sound outside made my heart jump. A car passing by. A branch scraping the window. My own breath. That text wasn't just a warning. It was a threat. And it was clear now, Brad wasn't going to stop until I was ruined, or scared enough to give up. But fear wasn't going to win this time. By morning, I was running on 3 hours of sleep and a gallon of coffee, but my head was clearer than it had been in weeks. I knew what I had to do. I had to go on the offensive. Not just legally. Publicly. People were believing Brad's lies because I hadn't told my story yet. So that morning, I did something I never thought I'd do. I made a video. Just me, sitting in the bakery, speaking from the heart. Hi. My name is Jessica Collins. I own this bakery, and I'm the victim of a scam. I kept it simple. Honest. I didn't slander. I didn't name call. I just told the truth. About the business. About the forged documents. About my sister and her husband. About the lawsuit, the vandalism, and now, the threats. I uploaded it to every social media account I had. Lucas helped share it. A few customers did too. And within 24 hours, it blew up. Over 80,000 views. Comments pouring in. People offering support. Former customers apologizing. Even some of the scammed clients from Artisan-Built Designs started defending me online. The tide was turning again, this time, faster and louder. Rachel called me, practically giddy. Jess, this is brilliant. It puts everything in the open. No court in the world is going to see you as the villain now. It felt like I could breathe again. Until I got to the bakery the next morning. And saw the flames. The fire trucks were already there. Smoke still poured from the back of the building. The smell of burnt sugar, wood, and melted plastic hung thick in the air. I stood frozen in the street, watching my dream, my home, crackle and spit embers into the morning sky. Lucas found me 5 minutes later. Jess. Oh my God. They said it started in the back, I whispered. Near the storage room. He looked at me, face pale. That's where we keep the financial records. I nodded slowly. And then I saw it. Behind the crowd. Across the street. A man in a hoodie, watching. Brad. I took a step forward, but he slipped into an alley and disappeared before I could say anything. The fire department said it could have been faulty wiring. But I knew better. We both did. That night, I sat in my burned-out bakery with the fire investigator and an insurance rep. Most of the damage was in the back. Thankfully, the front was still standing. But it would take months, to repair. You're lucky you weren't inside, the investigator said. If someone had been near the back when it went up. He didn't finish the sentence. He didn't have to. That fire wasn't meant to destroy the bakery. It was meant to send a message. Lucas stayed with me that night. We slept, or tried to, on a pair of cots in the bakery kitchen, surrounded by the smell of ash. Every time a pipe groaned or the wind rattled the door, I jumped. I felt powerless. Angry. Lost. Until Lucas pulled something from his backpack. A small black device. What's that? I asked. He smiled faintly. A GPS tracker. I've been hiding it in Brad's car for the last 2 days. Figured it might come in handy. I stared at him, stunned. Are you serious? He shrugged. You said we needed evidence. I just took it a step further. I laughed. For the first time in weeks, I actually laughed. Lucas, that's possibly illegal. Only if we tell someone. We opened the tracking app. Brad's car had been parked 2 blocks from the bakery at 3:42 a.m. The fire started at 4:05. It wasn't proof, not legally. But it was enough to put him on the scene. We screenshotted the data and sent it to Rachel. She replied instantly, "This is huge. I'll file for a protective order immediately." The next day, Rachel met with the judge. With the flash drive Amanda gave me, the GPS data, the threatening text, and the break-in report, the court granted me a temporary restraining order against Brad. But even better, Rachel made one more move. She handed everything over to the district attorney. Brad was no longer just facing a civil suit. He was about to be criminally investigated. When Amanda found out, she called me again. "Jess, please," she begged. "Don't do this. He'll blame me." "You should have thought of that before you helped him steal from me," I said. She was quiet for a long moment. "I'm pregnant," she whispered. "Jess, I'm pregnant. He doesn't know yet." My stomach turned. I didn't know what to say. "You don't have to forgive me," she said. "But I'm scared. He's dangerous. And if he finds out I gave you that flash drive." Her voice cracked. "I don't want to raise a child in this mess. I want out. But I don't know how." I sighed, pinching the bridge of my nose. "Then help us. For real this time. Testify. Give us everything. We'll protect you." She didn't answer right away. Then she said, "Okay. I'll do it. But you have to promise me something." "What?" "If this goes to trial, you don't hold back." I paused. "I promise." And just like that, Amanda agreed to flip on Brad. Rachel arranged a meeting with the DA to get her statement recorded. She told them everything, how Brad planned it from the beginning, how he used me, how he planned the fire and laughed about it the day before. It was damning. With Amanda's testimony and the flash drive, the DA filed charges. Fraud. Forgery. Arson. Stalking. Brad was arrested 2 days later. I thought that was the end. But just when I started to believe it was finally over, I got a letter in the mail. No return address. Inside was a single sheet of paper. Typed. You may have won. But this isn't the end. You don't know who you've messed with. And attached was a photo of Amanda. Taken through a window. Holding her stomach. Staring at her phone. Completely unaware. Brad may have been behind bars. But someone else had picked up where he left off. My hands were shaking as I read the letter again and again. My stomach twisted in knots, and my heart pounded like a drum in my ears. This wasn't over. Someone was still out there. Watching. Threatening. And now, they were targeting Amanda. I grabbed my phone and called Rachel. Another threat came in, I said. It's not from Brad. This time it's about Amanda. She told me to bring it to her office right away. Lucas offered to drive, and I didn't argue. I couldn't think straight, let alone get behind the wheel. Rachel examined the letter carefully. This isn't Brad's writing, she said, flipping it under a desk lamp. And the style is different. It's cleaner. Colder. Whoever sent this is smart. Calculated. I swallowed hard. You don't think it's, like, a copycat, do you? Or someone Brad hired before he got locked up? Could be either, Rachel said. But the fact that they're watching Amanda now tells me this isn't about revenge anymore. This is a game. And the next move's ours. We brought Amanda in immediately and showed her the letter. She paled. That photo, he took that from outside my bedroom window. You're moving out, I said. Today. You're not staying there another night. Amanda looked at me, tears welling up in her eyes. Where would I even go? I hesitated. Then I took a deep breath. You're coming with me. Lucas raised an eyebrow. Jess, are you sure? No, I admitted. But she's pregnant. And if someone out there is trying to hurt her to get to me, then I need to keep her close. Amanda moved in that night. It wasn't easy. We didn't talk much those first few days. There was a heavy silence between us, like we both knew we were standing on broken glass. But she cleaned. She cooked. She kept quiet. And slowly, the walls started to come down. Then came the next blow. Rachel called with an update. Jess, she said, we got word that Brad's bail has been revoked. The DA's building a solid case for trial. That's great news, I said. There's more, she added. Amanda's testimony helped us uncover a shell company Brad created. He moved stolen money through it. We can file to have the funds seized and returned, some of it, anyway. My heart jumped. You mean? I could get some of the bakery losses back. Not all of it, she said. But maybe enough to reopen. I wanted to cry. For the first time in months, there was hope again. That night, Amanda knocked on my bedroom door. She looked tired. Pale. But determined. Can I talk to you? She asked. I nodded. She sat on the edge of the bed, staring down at her hands. When Mom and Dad died, she said, I didn't know what to do. I felt like I had to be strong for both of us. But instead, I got scared. And I married Brad because he made it feel like I was strong. Like I had control. I stayed quiet. I knew what he was doing to you wasn't right. But I was scared of losing him. Scared of being alone. Her voice cracked. And now I've put you in danger. Put my baby in danger. I looked at her, tears brimming in my eyes. Amanda, I don't trust you. Not yet. Maybe not ever. But I don't want to see you get hurt. And I don't want your baby growing up afraid. She nodded. I'll earn it back. Somehow. I'll make this right. Just then, Lucas rushed into the room. Someone's outside, he said. Same black hoodie from the fire night. We all jumped to our feet. Call the cops, I said. Now. I peeked through the curtain. Sure enough, a figure was standing just beyond the fence, barely visible under the porch light. But they weren't moving. Just watching. Police arrived 10 minutes later, but the figure was gone. No prints. No clues. Just the same sick feeling in my gut. But the next morning, everything changed. Amanda got a call from Brad's public defender. He wanted to meet. Rachel came with us to the courthouse, where Brad was being held before trial. We waited in a cold, gray room until they brought him in, handcuffed and sour-faced. He didn't look at me. He looked at Amanda. Why'd you do it? He asked. You betrayed me. Amanda crossed her arms. You were never protecting me, Brad. You were using me. Just like you used Jess. He sneered. You think you're safe now? You're not. Neither of you. Rachel leaned forward. That sounded a lot like another threat. He smirked but said nothing. That's when Amanda did something I'll never forget. She pulled out her phone, placed it face down on the table, and said, We know about the burner phone. The accounts. The person you hired to keep tabs on us. We're getting a subpoena for the text records right now. Brad's smile faded. I know who he is, Brad, Amanda said softly. You hired your cousin. Travis. I blinked. Wait, Travis? That quiet guy from your wedding? Amanda nodded. He's always been loyal to Brad. And shady. He's the one who's been following us. Sending those letters. Watching. Rachel's eyes lit up. Are you willing to testify to that? Amanda didn't flinch. Yes. And just like that, we had a name. A real lead. Within 48 hours, Travis was arrested. The DA found the burner phone in his apartment, along with a folder of printed photos of me, Amanda, the bakery, even Lucas. The threat letters matched his printer. And when they pressed him, Travis cracked. He admitted everything. Brad had paid him months ago, first to spy, then to intimidate. The fire? Travis. The text? Travis. The photo of Amanda? Also Travis. It was over. Finally. Over. 3 months later, the trial began. I testified. So did Amanda. Lucas. Rachel. Carla, the scammed customer. Even Travis took the stand. It was brutal. Emotional. But at the end of it, Brad was found guilty on multiple charges: fraud, arson, conspiracy, and harassment. He was sentenced to 12 years in prison. Amanda gave birth to a healthy baby boy 2 weeks later. She named him Elijah. And for the first time in a long time, she smiled with something that looked like peace. As for me? The bakery reopened. Slowly. Bit by bit. The community rallied behind me. The customers came back. Some even brought friends. Lucas stayed on, and we added new items to the menu, including a cookie called the Comeback. People loved the story behind it. And the lesson? Kindness matters. But kindness without boundaries can be dangerous. You can love people and still protect yourself. You can forgive and still move on. And sometimes, revenge isn't about hurting someone back. It's about building yourself up so high that the people who tried to destroy you can only watch as you rise. My sister and her husband were plotting against me. But I outsmarted them. And I got everything they tried to steal. My peace. My freedom. My life. And I earned every bit of it.